So normally, if we were in a big group and we had a lot of lumber yards on, I would start off by saying, with a show of hands, how many of you are using the different ERPs like Epicor, ECI, Cashier Pro, Axio? How many are you actually using digital solutions? Seems like Gary, you're probably the only lumberyard that's on this call. So Gary's using a Delphi system, and a lot of these systems have different front end solutions for builders and professional contractors. Again, I like to start off by asking if people have used Amazon or Uber Eats in part of their daily lives. And so, we're really here to talk about how digital transformation is happening across the construction industry and across many different industries. And again, as a show of hands, how many of you have actually implemented any sort of e-commerce or digital solution? I imagine, on this call, probably not many. So we'll kick it off. So I'm Eric. My background, I spent the last 15 years as a home builder and a low-rise developer. Co-founded Toolbox in 2017. And, the premise behind Toolbox is, when I was running my construction business, I hired a lot of people to do a lot of manual tasks that I felt could be digitized. So a lot of people we had were making phone calls to different suppliers, sending emails to different suppliers for different ordering, sending out checks manually, calling to make balance payments. And, I definitely found that the local suppliers, didn't really have great technology for the way modern building is starting to evolve. And, had the idea of creating Toolbox to really bring a great set of digital technologists together to really enhance the customer experience and, ensure that the independent lumber building material suppliers can really thrive and grow within a digital age. So, I was essentially the customer of most of the lumber building material dealers that we work with. These are some of the projects that I used to build. And, at our peak, in my last company, we had 100 employees. We're doing about 100 million in construction projects at any given time, ranging from, $2 to $3 million single family residential to multi-unit residential, all in the high end sort of sectors. And, I found that there's incredible amount of efficiency that could be gained through technology and the way construction materials can get procured, paid for, and discovered. We were working with a lot of different architects that were specifying products, and the only way you can really find where these products are is go on Google and see which suppliers you can actually buy from. Oftentimes, we were getting directed to a manufacturer's website, and then it wasn't clear where we can actually order these products from, and so that's sort of where the premise of Toolbox came from. We've also got Brad that's joining us, and he's been at Toolbox now for the last few years.
Yeah, hi folks. Brad Comiskey, VP Product at Toolbox. So my job is product strategy, feature prioritization. Myself and a bunch of our team members spend most of our time with the engineers at Toolbox, who are the real heroes, who are pounding the keyboard and working away at building our platform. I'm based in Vancouver, BC, and yeah, my prior to joining Toolbox, had a long 19-year career with Ritchie Brothers Auctioneers. If you're familiar, the used industrial equipment, excavators, dump trucks, bulldozers, that kind of marketplace. And I was sort of the e-commerce guy for that organization, and not quite the same playbook, but there are some similarities and synergies that we're bringing to the building materials space with technology adoption.
Yeah, and behind us, we have a really solid team across North America. We've hired employees and advisors, and are backed by investors from Amazon, Uber, Facebook, Shopify, Ritchie Brothers, and for us, definitely found that the industry has been underserved by great technologists. it's hard to imagine, but the best engineers coming out of these schools, I don't think wake up and say, hey, I really want to help the lumber building material industry. And I've had to really go down and show that, hey, we can really make a big impact to this industry and really add a lot of value to one of the biggest sort of industries in the world. We're working with about 50 lumber yards, building material yards across North America. And I think the exciting thing for us and our perspective is, by working with US dealers, Canadian dealers, we see different dynamics of how contractors and builders are ordering, are managing, and enhancing their technology. So we get quite a bit of insights from across North America, and we're able to sort of share these insights from, an Arnold Lumber in Rhode Island that's doing 100 million in sales to, lumber yards that are doing 5 million in sales. So really understanding the different dynamics. I think, it's that saying of the rising tide lifts all boats. And as we get a lot of the feedback across all these different industries and groups and customers, we're able to ensure that everyone has the knowledge so they can make some really good decisions about their technology. Our vision at Toolbox really is to create a building material platform that arms building material supply stores to succeed in the digital age. We believe digital tools can really add efficiency if they're adopted and used correctly. And this is where the industry seems to be going, not just across construction, but most other B2B industries. We're seeing it across manufacturing. We're seeing it across the food industries. We're seeing it against the auto industry as well. And so, we're really focused on lumber building material suppliers. That is our core focus. And every one of our employees wakes up every day and says, how can we, strengthen and create more value for the lumber building material suppliers?
Yeah, I'll jump in now. I've got 4 or 5 slides here to sort of level set, our view of the macroeconomic sort of environment. Some of this data speaks to the broader North American market, and some of it is even US based. Directionally, it is very similar in Canada for this group. The thing that's interesting here is sort of the 50-50 split that we see between the top 5 chains. Again, this is US centric, but the big box stores, the Home Depots, the Lowe's of the world, representing just 7,000 stores, but about half of the pie in total sales. This includes pros, constructions, and retail home improvement type of sales for $538 billion in US in 2021. And then the other group, before we flip the slide, the other group and the group that we really support at Toolbox and that we're looking at here is really the independents, everybody that's not a big box. 31,000 stores, so much smaller footprint, much better customer service just by the sheer number of locations, and the other half of the pie. So a lot of our context is sort of the independents versus the big boxes and how those tranches are sort of different with respect to digital transformation. Next slide. This is maybe not the warm and fuzzy slide, but a lot of the research, and there's even a new report that came out of the New York Times last month that really doesn't paint a great picture on productivity in our industry. It has been a negative growth rate over the last 30 years in overall construction. A lot of that is just we haven't changed the way we build homes or changed much with respect to innovation. Poor supply chain, which is an area that we can help, is sort of an area that impacts cost overruns and time overruns. But just generally, the construction industry is seen as non-innovative and not growing from a productivity standpoint over the last 30 years. This is an area we think we can help. Related, it's an underinvested industry in technology. It's the definition of a laggard industry with respect to adopting new technology. Here are some numbers from just the top 100. So this is already the largest 100 dealers in the US. This case, only 30% of them, less than a third, have actually sort of dove into online sales. Even smaller, sort of the rest of them, it's less than 15%. What you see is sort of online and account services like making payments or reviewing invoices has a slightly bigger uptake at 22%. And chat functionality is sort of less than 5%. This is really anemic numbers when you compare this to just about any other industry in North America. Lot going on this slide. This is the how did we get here slide, and I'm not going to go through every sort of calendar year going back to 95. I think you're probably nodding your head when you see, you know, dates of Amazon and eBay and PayPal in the late 90s. Global e-commerce hit 150 billion even prior to 2000. Interesting of note, you see the Home Depot logos there in 01 and then again in 2010 when they sort of adopted mobile. So really Home Depot as a big box has been in this for 2 decades now. We have a slide later that sort of sees their penetration. But the interesting part here is 2020, the pandemic hits. This was a shifting moment. It shook the tree for this industry on, oh, we better react to this. And we're seeing some things post the pandemic, which was a busy time for most of us in this industry. You see Builders First Source acquiring Paradigm in 2021 for hundreds of millions of dollars and launching My Builder. Again, this is in the US, which is a really impressive sort of initiative for the BFS group. And you're just seeing a lot of change, sort of the pace of change has really picked up post the pandemic, perhaps not surprisingly. I got one more slide here that sort of speaks to the penetration of e-commerce, or in this case, specifically online sales. Sort of 3 lines here. The dark blue is total US retail. So total US retail penetration is just south of about 13%. And the yellow there is Home Depot. And the interesting thing is you see the pandemic blip where everything sort of moved to online. But even more interestingly, in the last sort of 6 quarters, you've seen an inflection point where in the case of Home Depot, they're outpacing retail growth than even total US retail growth. Again, 20 years at it and still at just 15% penetration. Lowe's is the light blue, if you can sort of squint to see it. That's at about 10% right now. This is all to say most of the independents are somewhere between 0% and like 5%. So really early days, the first innings of sort of integration of online ordering. The most highest performing, the customers that are sort of performing at the highest levels, they're seeing 30% online penetration out of the independent dealers.
Yeah, and one thing that we alluded to, and this was a really interesting insight coming out of this year when we were at the home building show in Vegas. We spent some time with the group from Builders First Source. They had quite an impressive booth and they were really pushing this product. And so they acquired Paradigm in 2021, and Paradigm was a technology company that builds software for takeoffs and 3D sort of modeling. And Brad had a relationship with Paradigm, and everyone was sort of like, well, why did they do that purchase? Well, it turns out that they've leveraged those software engineers to launch a portal and tool, which is very much an e-commerce type experience called mybuilder.com, where it allows a builder to log in. It allows them to see their orders broken out by product, by tiered customer pricing. They can actually see when their materials are getting delivered on what trucks, and it sort of ties in a bit of a scheduling aspect as well. So, coming out of this, we see that software is getting adopted across some of the really big builder suppliers. BFS is mostly a contractor-focused yard, and they're now rolling out a pretty significant platform for all their customers. And we felt this was really good insights to show a lot of the Canadian customers, because it seems like some of these big US suppliers are making some really big investments. So when we think about digital, yes, there's the retail DIY type consumer customers, but we also look at the B2B side, which I think is really important, and I think it's really important for the folks that serve that side of the industry, because we don't believe that digital is just for DIYs. We see pro contractors switching to digital. And, we see these types of pros starting to order online. You've got the sort of Chuck with a truck type contractor. They have 1 to 4 contractors. The owner is the one that's physically nailing the studs. This was a very common customer of, a company called Rental Run in Canada that purely supplied materials online to this group and this group of customers. And then you've sort of got the SMB builder, which is, sort of mid-sized builder. They have 5 to 19 type employees. The owner rarely is the one hammering the nails. They have branded vehicles. They're doing anywhere from 2 to 5 different projects at any given time. We're seeing almost every one of these builders, and these builders have a Home Depot account. So they're ordering something from Home Depot or ordering something online, even though they order most of their construction materials from the local independents. And then you've got sort of like the enterprise builder. So, they have anywhere from 20 plus team members. The owner isn't necessarily like a master builder. It could be like, a business finance type person that owns these types of companies. But they have dedicated people in estimation finance. They have over five different projects at any given time. Now, these different groups of builders are definitely adopting technology. They're definitely ordering online. There's one other group that is outside of this, which is what we call the track builders. And these are the ones that are using, the different home builder type software, where a lot of their orders are coming in through set POs that are sort of pulling the data out of the different lumber yards. And I'm sure, Gary on the call, you probably deal with a lot of these builders that are sort of sending out these POs with pre-negotiated prices, and you sort of have to adhere to the different softwares that you're seeing orders come from. Am I correct there?
Yeah, that'd be correct. We have online portals we have to log into to pull their purchase orders from.
Yeah. So focusing on the B2B contractor, and when we think about B2B, we're sort of covering this group, and some of the other group that Gary mentioned. What they really require, and they're starting to require right now, is they need to be able to pay their bills online. They need to be able to view their order history, view price, stock availability on their time, submit quotes on their time, pay on their timeline. What we're seeing is a lot of these contractors and the builders, the service is sort of diminishing, and the trades are actually diminishing. So they're getting busier. So if you talk to most good home builders or most good trades, they're so busy they can't really keep enough team members. And so one of their biggest struggle is like finding good team members. And so they're really looking at creating efficiency. So they're investing in their own project management type softwares. And what we're seeing is a lot of these builders are looking at the dealers' salespeople as order takers. They're always calling them saying, "Hey, where's my order? Where's my first floor? Where's my second floor? Hey, I need 52 2x4s, or hey, I need this house lot." A lot of that gets done through the communication aspect. And, we're seeing the expectation from these builders that, hey, why aren't I getting a real-time delivery notification? Why aren't I getting material updates? Why can't I find this different product? So this is sort of like the expectation that's starting to happen with these B2B contractors. And again, Gary, I'm not trying to point some fingers at you, but curious to see and understand what your customers are saying, and if these are the things that they're starting to request.
I'm going to say no. For the most part, a lot of the builders are not technologically far enough along that path yet to be able to do some of these things. Pay bills online. I have a hard time getting to pay the bills on time as it is. Or get them pay online. That's going to be a challenge. But anyways, we'll watch to see where it all goes. I think the industry is going to move ahead, but it's going to take some more time for them to get there. You're absolutely correct. The manpower side is very much a challenge for them, getting enough manpower, whether it be office people for estimating or the field people for the construction side. So are they going to look for efficiencies? Yes. But I also think, and I was waiting for the opportunity to jump in with this. I mean, part of the reason why I want to jump in with Toolbox as well is I look at the world of Amazon and how strong Amazon got through the pandemic and how big they are today. And what my view is we are becoming socially inept. People don't like to talk to people anymore. They want to go online, they want to order stuff, and they don't want to go to bricks and mortars anymore. They don't want to deal with people anymore. They just want to go online and order stuff. And that's a big impetus for me to go down this path, because I believe that's where the world's going with the generational change that's occurring in our industry. The young people coming up are so used to ordering off Amazon or eBay or wherever they're buying their products from, they don't want to actually physically talk to anybody anymore. They just want to be able to go online and order. So I believe that's why, like, again, that's why I went down this path with you guys, because I think that's where the world's going.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that perspective, Gary, and you know, we tend to agree, and what we're seeing, and you know, when you look at sort of this group is, you know, 75% of the contractors today that are ordering materials from lumber and building material yards are millennials, and you know, this sort of millennial generation, you know, myself included, grew up with cell phones, computers, iPads, and so, you know, just understanding the way of that flow is sort of like where the bar gets set, and then from there it's just the expectation starts to climb.
Yeah. You know, this slide's really for completeness based on like what we've spoken to previously here. Absolutely, our focus at Toolbox and a lot of our customers is on that B2B buyer and those, you know, sort of different customer personas that we addressed. But there is also the DIY or the homeowner, and it is very different gravy than the B2Bs. And we just sort of want to sort of mention that. We're seeing, and I mean, these are averages of average orders, but yeah, we saw 5,300 on a B2B, and at least at a minimum, really 4 orders a month, whereas the homeowner is, you know, more of a retail purchase at 450 and less than 1 order a month. And their needs are very different. Again, there is some order online, there is some sort of pay online, the Amazon experience, but sort of less robust than the business, the B2B business customer. You combine these numbers together for these large sort of macroeconomic stats that we shared earlier. But really the focus and where we're going to see growth in technology adoption is in the B2B persona segment.
So as I talked about before, you know, millennial contractors are now the buyers. They do prefer self-service, so they want to order on their schedule. You know, a lot of times it's after hours where they're going through the drawings, they're trying to build their material list, they're placing those orders. And my earlier point, you know, with the architects, I just find, especially in the last 10 years, there's been a plethora of new products available. You know, we talked about that earlier, you know, the zip system. You know, there's all sorts of air barriers. There's all sorts of plywoods. There's all sorts of integrated engineering solutions, more than I've ever seen before. And you go to these shows. I mean, you go down to the International Builder Show, and it's like the amount of new products that are getting put out there is incredible. And so, you know, when these architects are specifying these products, as a builder, how do you know where to find them? Well, you have to go online and you got to search. Oh, who supplies these things? And that was, again, a big challenge that I started to see. And now, you know, we're starting to see this feedback from these builders that are like, yeah, the architects are specifying things, but I don't even know where to get them. And what we're also seeing is these builders' business practices are changing. So, you know, in Canada and the US, we're seeing them, you know, adopt the builder trend and Constellation home builder softwares. You know, these contractor builders are taking to social media. They're showing off their products. They're showing off, you know, how to build properly. And I think this is a really good opportunity for lumber and building material suppliers to do that as well. You know, I think there's a great customer we're working with called Mountain View, and you know, they do a really good job just being themselves and saying, hey, like we are a lumberyard, we are the domain of knowledge. You know, we want to show builders how to build. Hey, this is a new engineering panel. This is how it works. This is how you're supposed to install it. And I do think that the industry has sort of missed out on some of that education you used to be able to go into a lumber yard and say, hey, like, show me how to build these things. And I think a lot of the builders are sort of forgetting really how to install and how to build these different projects. So their business is becoming more complex. In-store service is a standard, but now going above and beyond, I think is a huge way to add an extra layer of value to the industry. And in terms of frictionless service, typically a lot of dealers were just doing mail and paper invoices, only taking credit cards over the phone. And there was a great example where I met with a dealer, and as I was sitting there, and this was a sales manager, we were talking to him about the Toolbox platform, and he was interrupted probably 10 times during our meeting to either take a phone call from a builder placing an order, or checking stock or checking prices. And this was like the head of sales at an organization. And in my opinion, this person shouldn't have been, yes, it's great you're answering the phone, but he should have been out there like upselling and really driving his team performance, not just like dealing with on the phone orders from their customers. So, we're seeing this shift where if you're giving the tools and if you're showing availability, a lot of the dealers should be able to get a lot more efficiency on their own team as well. I know, talking to a lot of dealer customers, it's really hard to find good team members. It's really hard to find good sales reps. It's hard to find good drivers. So creating more efficiencies with your own business is going to be very important as well.
This one's just some more research that we've done about sort of what to do, what are the areas to start, and what are we seeing right now. And this research shows us that sort of the plans or the eyes are a little bigger than the stomach as it sits right now. Where we're seeing some penetration in the top 150, again, these are the leaders, is really on the administration side. So notifying customers of delivery time, purchase history online, being able to pay bills online. And where we're seeing less adoption of technology is around online ordering and seeing if products are in stock. The primary reason for that is the catalog data is a major blocker. Often catalog data is in poor shape. And we've got some slides later that will speak to some of the things that we can do to get the catalog data into a state where you can start to shift it to a customer facing experience rather than a staff only facing experience.
So again, what we're seeing when we meet with different dealers is, hey, we do have an online experience. And what we're definitely seeing is, there's a number of like ERP and point of sales systems that give different technology experiences. And at the end of the day, as Gary alluded to, the second you put something online, you automatically get compared to an Amazon or an Uber Eats or a Home Depot. So in order for pros to use technology, you have to make it really easy to use. Pros are on job sites, and so they're on their phones, and you got to make the order experience really, really good. And all too often we see websites and we see order experiences that are expensive but like really hard to use, and that's a result of just outdated technology trying to be adopted in our industry. So at the end of the day, pros and DIY expectations are high. So they want fast search, they want products to be able to show up, and they really need to have a quick, fast login experience. So these are examples of what we see out in the industry. And these are examples of, sort of standardized portals. But at the end of the day, if you've ever logged into something nowadays on any other site, you're putting in your email address, it's one click sign in. You shouldn't have to remember all these different usernames and passwords. And so, the bar has been raised, and, we're hoping that, the different technology is going to be adopted. When it comes to account access and easy access to accounts, again, standardizing the way builders, expect their portals to look like, with your order history, with your job site addresses, your payment history, different payment methods, different contacts. It has to be able to work on mobile-friendly devices. And again, this is just sort of the standard that we're seeing across the industry. We're also seeing, different dealers adopt pieces of technology, and then they start to get frustrated because they have to log into a chat bot, or they have to log into a payments system, or they have to log into a different quoting tool. And so we like to say that your tech shouldn't operate in isolation. All of your technology should work together, and it should all be connected, so that you only have to really log into one or two places to be able to see that value and to see the different orders or the different messages or the different quotes that come in. So, as a rule of thumb, if you're looking to invest in technology, you want to make sure that that technology either has APIs, or it could work with other types of softwares that could be seamlessly integrated into one.
I'll speak to this slide just on sort of the immediate benefits, and then sort of the longer term, midterm ones. I mean, off the hop, you should see an improved customer service with your customers. And I'll often get pushback where they'll say, Brad, there's no way your a website experience or an online experience will ever be an improved customer experience over face-to-face, or even over the phone, the sort of the white of the eyeballs relationship you would have with a customer. And I agree with that. A face-to-face interaction is always going to be a higher fidelity customer service experience. But it's what about all those moments in between, those micro moments in between that you can provide customer service at 9 p.m. on a Thursday night, on a Sunday afternoon, or when the customer is busy and doesn't have time to pick up the phone, or doesn't have time to come into the yard, but wants to know about stock inventory levels. That, in my view, is improved customer experience, and you're actually providing greater number of touch points for that customer over time. Obviously, the self-serve and on their schedule aspect, it's a customer loyalty play from an administration standpoint, and then you immediately have a better brand sort of identity. You're hanging a shingle, so to speak, on your digital real estate, in a great light. Longer term, you see great strategic data insights. Every month with our customers, we show the search intent. So what has been typed into that search bar, the thousands of searches, and where you're seeing new trends or new sort of buying demand shifts from your customers. You leverage that data for marketing, and you can leverage it for your purchasing as well. We'll move on. Yeah, so we often get the question sort of, where do we start? How do I even get going? You have to look at where you're adopting digital in other areas. We see some customers sort of adopting pieces. Maybe it's delivery, maybe it's messaging. Who would be supporting this? Across our customers, we're not saying you need to hire somebody. You don't need to sort of bring on an operational burden. It's generally a slice of your sales desk time managing this, be it the inside team or the outside team, but it often can be office staff. It's someone that is a little more technically savvy and is excited to sort of introduce this into the business operations. The key thing being, it's not a huge lift. And then, are you leaning on hiring in-house or bringing this in-house like a direct-to-consumer play, or do you want to hire an external partner to work through this? And you can do digital marketing initiatives, social media on the marketing side, and then you can do technology and direct-to-consumer platforms on the tech side.
So in terms of when we think about the world, technology and digital, and again, we do not do marketing or digital marketing. We just like to share what we see from different dealers that are doing it really, really well. But creating an Instagram brand and leveraging Instagram can really go a long way across the industry. We're seeing some, like, this is a tool supplier in Canada. They have 200,000 followers, and 75% of their sales are coming from their Instagram channel, driving people to the store, having really good events. A company in the US called Kukin Brothers has 60,000 followers. Mountain View's done a great job having over 5,000 followers, CCL 4,000. And, you know, it does not, like, you do not need to hire a company to do this for you. You know, you could create, you know, you can create different people within your organization. Anyone that has a smartphone, hey, you know, take a couple photos of the site, take a couple videos. The more raw and authentic, the better. Like, you'd be surprised how many people in the industry love to see you know, a fully loaded, well-stocked truck that's leaving the yard, and it's just a 2-second video on that. You know, it doesn't take long to get it going. And, you know, a lot of contractors and builders, believe it or not, are on Instagram. So I think, you know, trying to post at least, you know, once a week, if not, you know, a few times a week, just can help build that social presence up. And again, it's just like educating your customers. Hey, here's a new product that we just launched. This is how you install it. So it's a great way that the, you know, the building material suppliers can educate customers as well. You know, email and SMS marketing, same sort of thing. You know, hey, great new decking product. Here's what we have out there right now, and you can click on it, and then it can direct them to where they can actually buy something. So, you know, email and SMS marketing is a huge aspect, and I think most LBM suppliers should think about having a email and SMS marketing strategy that helps them sort of educate their customer, but also drive more sales and more features.
Yeah, so this is the sort of the ROI calculus slide. You know, often I'll get asked, okay, so how do we do the napkin math on the return for an investment in technology here? And there's really sort of 3 major tranches. One is the obvious one, which is acquiring new customers or growth of new business through this new channel. You've got your storefront channel, maybe you've got email and phone orders coming in sort of externally, and sort of what does online open from a new customer growth standpoint. The other side is, how do you increase the share of wallet from your existing customers? So maybe not new to the business, but if you had 80% of the wallet, now by providing this higher level of customer service, do I see 90, 95, 100% of that customer spend with me through greater customer service? Sort of that existing customer loyalty play versus growth of a new customer base. And we generally ask customers to stack rank those two. Which of those two is more important than the other? Yes, you want both, but there are slightly different strategies on and especially going to market on which of those two is more important. And then the last one would be an internal efficiency play. Hey, can I make my inside sales desk better, faster, stronger, sharper with adopting tools like messaging and sort of minimizing the amount of chattiness over phone calls and making the phone calls that you do take more valuable and a better use of your operational and sales staff time?
So yeah, just some customer feedback. You know, a customer we're working with called Peacock Lumber. You know, they're seeing a huge uptake in quotes, in messages, just in a few quarters that they've been live, and you know they're seeing quite a bit of sales transactions per day. And you know there's a mid-size operation, and it, you know, for them it doesn't take a lot to get going, and they're seeing quite a bit of traction adopting that digital technology.
Yeah, I got a couple slides here on preparing product data. This is generally, you know, one of the harder tasks for lumber yards and building materials resellers to getting it ready, which is it's in rough shape, it's in many different sort of disparate systems. You know, generally we push to saying your ERP, your point of sale, or your enterprise resource planning tool should be your single source of truth for your data. And from there, you can have thin layers and spokes to that source so that you don't run into the problem of having multiple areas where data is stored and having different levels of quality of your data sources. So moving on, we'll get to cleaning the data in a second. The product data is key. At the end of the day, the website experience, content is king, and the content is the product and inventory data. So you need things like names and SKU, prices, and images. Obviously, the descriptions are really important, but just as important are dimensions and weights. And then obviously product attribute colors. And then is it easily findable in a search tree? whether it's top level categories or sub level child categories, where their customer can do a keyword search and find it quickly, or can they sort of drill down through a product catalog and find what they're looking for in a quick way. Our technology provides really great search experiences that include synonym lookups. So whether you call it sheetrock, drywall, wallboard, whatever you call it, we're going to find it for you. Local nomenclature is sort of is taken care of so that customers can find what they're looking for, which is crucial on a website experience. We'll move to the next one. There's a couple of slides we like to show on that sort of shows how we clean data. So AI is the topic du jour. We use OpenAI API technology to clean up a lot of our customers' data. Here's some, very, very, very simple examples where you still have customers that are still living in all caps back from, command line days where everything was left in all caps, or everything had to be shortened down to 32 characters or less. I'm sure there's folks even on this call that are sort of smiling because that may be their realities. A simple prompt like clean up the following list of products and make them human readable can bring things down into mixed case and sort of standardized spacing and standardized spelling so that it becomes much more readable in a shopping experience. But you can also extract things like brands and dimensions. You can also standardize where it goes brand first, model number second, dimensions at the end, so that if you've got a disparate product catalog, you can standardize it with a few strokes. We used to have a team that would spend hours, dozens of hours per customer catalog, cleaning it up via brute force. And now it's like less than an hour through AI technology. Here's a little video demonstration of cleaning up 5 not great shaped things, and it just automatically pops them out there for you. This is sort of a nerd slide that I like to show. We'll let it run one more time here.
Okay.
No, I think people get it. Yeah, brings down all of the all caps and sort of spells things out. Very cool. The future is here.
Yeah, and so just to recap as we wrap up our talk, tech I think is in everyday lives. I think it's continuously evolving, and I've definitely seen tech evolve in exponential type rates. It's actually scary to think what the next 10 to 15 years are going to be like with all this new AI. But it's definitely here to stay. We see it enhancing customer experience. We're seeing the pro builders, the way they're thinking about building, they're starting to change. They're starting to expect digital offerings. Frictionless experience is going to be that new way of customer service. Customer service through phone calls is definitely here to stay, but adding that extra layer is also a way to enhance your overall customer experience. And really thinking about setting your digital strategy before making those investments, and really thinking about the product data. It's really important to have your product data in place. We're really excited to be working with Local, and the reason is because in our opinion, Local has the leg up because of the relationships that everyone has established, and professional contractors actually prefer shopping local at LBM dealers, having those good relationships, having the knowledge and the know-how. So really not giving them an excuse to go to big box, and having that extra layer of digital service can really help position this industry to win. And at the end of the day, there's always going to be innovations that continue to grow. And we're excited to be part of the journey, working with all these different dealers and really getting that good feedback to make the industry much better. So thanks everyone for the time, and we hope this seminar was informative. Hope everyone sort of gets some ROI out of it, and again, we're here to answer any questions or provide any feedback.
We intended to sort of turn over to Gary at some point there. Maybe now is a good time. Well, folks maybe on the line think of a question to ask. So we've been working with Trail Building Supplies, Gary, your organization. We're still in the early days and haven't launched yet, but I don't know if you could share your experiences with Toolbox up till now.
Sure. I'm quite excited by it. We've only had 2 online meetings so far, but it's well on its way. I mean, I'm going to rely on Brad and company to let me know. I think we have a July 15th launch, and I think we're probably or going to be pretty close to hitting that date.
Yep.
Our meetings are fairly intense. There's lots of detail. There's lots of conversation back and forth. I bring 3 or 4 people at a time to our meetings on our side, and you've got your group on your side. But they're very detailed, and there's really good interaction. And I guess one of the things I should say as well is, Brad, your team, and Eric, your team, is very good about understanding what our needs are and coming to the table with solutions and thoughts and how to improve our business as well. So good experience, very good experience. And again, part of why I have looked at different online formats and to go e-commerce before, but Eric, I'm going to have to say you were one of the big draws for me because you come from our world. You understand what goes on out there, and ordering from a lumberyard isn't always easiest. You need, again, like you were saying, relationships are really, really critical because you need that guy on the desk available to understand what your needs are, when you need it, what you need, types of products, whether it be timber strand studs or different type of product. You need your guy there. So Eric, that's really one of the big things for me. You understand our business, and that's why I chose to go with Toolbox.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, I think one thing that definitely caused a lot of frustration when I was a builder, and it's something that we want to really tackle for our lumberyards, is the price sheet. So we used to get, we're always quoting projects, and understanding what our pricing was, we'd always have to email, and we'd always have to call, and then we'd get an emailed price sheet, and then we'd save it, and then a week later we'd have to go back and be like, hey, is this the same pricing? So there was just a lot of back and forth that happened just when we were quoting projects. And I'm like, hey, if we could just log in and see what our pricing is, I wouldn't have to bother the lumberyards every single time. And that's just one example of an area that we want to try and tackle. And even if you're working with a larger team and you start ordering when you think it's a certain price, and then you get your invoicing, and then you have to match up your invoicing against what you thought your price was. Again, the amount of time that takes builders to just reconcile with their accounting teams and their project management teams. If they could just log in and be like, yep, that was the negotiated price. This is the invoice. Everything looks good. I can put in my cost code. The amount of admin from a builder just gets reduced so much. So, for us, this is really sort of day one. I always like to say we're always at day one, and it just continues to get better from here. So thanks for that, Gary.